So many beautiful rocks. Hi everybody, it's Kate from KatyDid, and today we are going to finally answer the questions that you have to celebrate my 3,000 subscriber milestone. I am just so moved and impressed with how many people have decided that my little adventures are worth watching, and I just appreciate all of you so very much. So I hope that these answers to these questions are of interest to you, and if not, watch anyway, it's a lot of fun.
Agate Angler 1 week ago. Here is my very serious question. Aside from Kava, who is your favorite rockhounding dog?
I think that's a very important question, Alex, and thank you for asking. You know, I know that Alex wants me to say Kip, and because Kip is his dog, and you know, to be honest, Kip is high on the list of my favorite rockhounding dogs because he's the only one that has ever given Kava a real run for her money as far as being able to outrun her. But I love all the rockhounding dogs. I love currently Rockhounding's dog. I love Daisy from E Minor. I can't remember the name, but I love the little tiny dog that Crystal Collector has. I think that going out hounding with our dogs is just an extra special bonus. Sorry, Alex. It's all of them.
From Wonderlust. Who is Wonderlust? Why is his channel so generally awesome? And how can people subscribe to it?
Okay, so if any of you are outraged by this blatant self-promotion, Wonderlust is actually my oldest son, and I suggested that he put something on the questions.
He did have a smiley face with a wink.
Anyway, if you haven't checked out his channel, he is a wildlife biologist who kind of specializes in nature videos and hiking videos, and his eye for beautiful things is just incredible. So if you haven't seen Wonderlust, do check out the description below and subscribe. Okay, Tori, happy?
Okay. Thirst Fast says, way to go, Kate.
Yay! Yay me!
So, if you could go anywhere with unlimited access, where in the world would you go to find something new?
You know, okay, there's a number of questions like this on this thread, and the answer is kind of going to be the same. I am embarrassingly ignorant about rocks of the world. I can tell you all kinds of stuff about the rocks where I live, and I know a little bit about the geology of some of the rest of the planet, but mostly I just don't know. I would love to go find some crystals. I have seen Thirst Fast as sometimes hunting amethysts, and I think that looks really fun. I haven't done a lot of crystal hunting myself, so that would be cool. But I think really the answer to that is what I would do is pick the place first and then figure out what I want to hunt, because I just love rocks of all kinds. It doesn't really matter.
Personally, I would go and look for and probably find the Blarney Stone.
You are the Blarney Stone.
Natira and Charles, when did you first fall in love with rocks and why? What is your absolutely favorite rock? Where or how did you and your husband meet? Are you going to do an episode of some of your favorite pieces in your collection?
Oh, that's too many questions. I'm gonna pick what is my favorite rock, because I happen to know that there's another question about how my husband and I met down in the thread. And just a quick yes, I definitely am going to do some more what's inside type episodes. I know that people love those. They take a lot of time, so that's why I tend to not do them in the warm summer months when I can get outside instead, because I really do love the hunt more than anything else. When did I fall in love with rocks? You know, I've liked collecting things and finding things for as long as I can remember, but I'm sure that I first started rock hounding because my dad was a rock hound. And we used to go on vacation every summer, and we would always kind of plan the trip around what rocks were available. Most specifically, I can remember going to Michigan and hunting Petoskey stones. But we did lots of different things like that. And Montana agates, that's when I was introduced to Montana agates as well. So, in case you're wondering why I'm cutting Jim off, it's not because I am trying to, it's just that my phone is it's looking at me and he's like secondary, so. Just like my channel, really. Anyway, so let's see. I was talking about the rocks, right? So I loved finding things. I would be so excited if I could uncover something that nobody else had found. And my dad, of course, encouraged me in that. And so I guess that's how I got started. Thanks for asking.
Theo Kellison, what prompted you to want to start a channel? What is your absolute favorite gem found in Montana? To clarify, not your favorite to hunt for necessarily, but your favorite in general. I remember you telling me that you aren't originally from Montana, so what made you move here and what makes you stay? And lastly, why haven't we gone fossil hunting yet?
Theo, that is way too many questions. I'm going to answer the first one, which is why did I start a channel? And if you want to know the rest of them, you can just ask me the next time we get together. But thank you, I appreciate the interest. So why I started a channel, it's been a little over a year, and my oldest son Wanderlust, who we mentioned earlier, came and was living with us for a while because he was kind of between jobs. A wildlife biologist has sort of a weird schedule where they're super busy for like 6 months out of the year and then not necessarily so much. And so I suggested to him that he start a YouTube channel because I knew that he needed something to channel his creative efforts. And at the same time, because we were going to all these places, rock hounding, because that's what I like to do, I started filming my own adventures. And I discovered that I really loved it because it's like, you know, even if I'm by myself or with my dog, it's like having a whole bunch of people with me that I can share the excitement with. And that is super cool. I mean, that is so much fun. And so I appreciate all of you so, so very much. Doing this while walking is kind of challenging.
Teresa Amsler. Hi, KatyDid. What new skill would you want to learn in the lapidary arts and why? What was the very first ever piece of lapidary equipment you purchased for yourself? What dream equipment / tool / machine would you want to buy now if money were no object? In the contiguous U.S., to what well-known mineral locations would you want to travel?
Contiguous? Oh, wow. That is a bunch of questions. What was the first one? Lapidary. What skill do I want to learn in lapidary?
Yes.
So what skill do I want to learn in lapidary? This is the one of all those wonderful questions. I'm only going to answer one from each person because otherwise we would have a video that was an hour and a half long and you all would fall asleep and it would be bad. So what skill would I like to learn in lapidary? You know, I am actually relatively unskilled in lapidary. I know almost nothing. I used to watch my dad make cabs, and so I know how to use a rock saw and a trim saw, and I've sort of made cabs and I use a rock tumbler, but my cabs are always sort of sad. I need to improve my skills on that one. So anyway, I know very little about lapidary. I am hoping to get the rest of my dad made a homemade polisher, and I'm hoping to pick that up fairly soon so that I will have enough wheels that I can actually make some cabs without having to use the angle grinder, which is super difficult to do. But it's an interesting hobby. It's something that I think I'm not naturally good at, but there's a lot of those kinds of things, and I just keep trying until I figure it out.
Chalcedony Clapper. How long have you been rock hounding? What got you into it? I've been hunting for 9 years so far.
You know, you can start whenever, however young or however old you are. Rocks are something that you can enjoy no matter how old you are. But as I mentioned before, my dad got me into it, probably just watching him get all excited about the various rocks that he found, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Scott Jensen, how did you acquire your knowledge of the different rocks we as rockhounders look for?
I have a very specific skill set. I can tell you all about the rocks of the Yellowstone River, but if you've ever seen one of my videos where I go someplace else, and there's a couple of those coming up where I am hunting for fossils over at Crystal Lake, and I am trying to find Montana diamonds over at Judith Peak. Don't get too excited, they're not really diamonds, they're quartz crystals. But anyway, I pretty much start from nothing with those. I love to do research, and so if I have a new project that I am trying to learn about, I will use Google until my fingers are too tired to type. And I love to read. I love to read the rock guides and try to figure out, you know, what's the best place to go. My copy of Montana Rock Hounding is very dog-eared. And so I guess the answer to that question is I just study. I just look it up until I feel like I know enough to at least find things.
Oak Tree 3, what age were you when you first got excited about finding an amazing rock or fossil?
I was probably 3, I think. I lived in Buffalo, South Dakota when I was a baby. And there are dinosaur bones in Buffalo, well, in the surrounding area. And my dad would search for dinosaur bones. And even though I don't really have a memory of it, I am sure that 3-year-old me thought dinosaur bones were pretty cool.
Hukius is my best guess. I'm curious, what was the most risky / dangerous / treacherous experience you ever had on your adventures, be it rock related or not? Also, congrats, Kate. I'm happy to be a member of your growing audience.
Most risky? That's tricky, huh? I'm actually usually pretty careful. At least I think I am. Oh. Most risky. I'm gonna have to sit down and think about that one. You know, there's always some degree of risk when you are rock hounding, because you're outside and you're in an area that you're not necessarily in control of. But I do try to minimize the risks as much as I can. It's always pretty risky climbing up a side of a hill that has a lot of loose shale or scoria or something like that. And of course there's always the river. You know, if you're foolish with the river, that's definitely something that you don't want to do twice. But overall, I usually am pretty safe. I've done some kind of stupid things, I think, mostly with my kids.
Lee Lake and String Lake.
Oh yes, well back when I was a teenager, we almost died. That was good. Actually, you almost died. I was fine.
You saved me, yes. I haven't forgotten.
So back when we first met, we went backpacking up in the Grand Tetons, and we were sort of bored with the trails because they were sort of wide and
they were paved.
So we decided we'd go bushwhacking, and we ended up at this place where we had to cross a fairly wide creek. And unbeknownst to me, Jim didn't know how to swim. And so I went first, and the water was super cold, you know how mountain streams are, and went across the stream, and it was so fast it just swept me out to the lake. He thought he'd lost me forever. But I went back on the other side and untied the rope from the backpack and started swinging it towards him to be able to get him to, you know, hang onto a rope. So we finally got that taken care of, and he was hanging onto a log, kind of hanging upside down. And so I said, okay, now let go of the log. And he just looked at me with this look like, let go.
What madness is this?
But he finally did, and I braced myself, and the current took him across, and neither of us died. So that's probably the best story that I have about adventure. But that was a long time ago.
Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm. When did you begin rock hounding? How different types of machines do you have to process stone specimens? There's a word missing there. Are all of your family members involved in geology, paleontology, lapidary, gemology?
Okay, so some of those we've answered already. And Rebecca is a wonderful rock hound from Iowa, which is where Jim is from, by the way. And so the answer to are all my family members rock hounds? No. Right, Jim?
That's right.
We're working on it, though. He's starting to be able to look for agates, and he's found a few, and he's getting more and more interested. So I'm working on that. Tor loves to find rocks, of course, my oldest one. My other two kids, I think, love to be outdoors, and they would go rock hounding with me if they were here. They're about 480 miles away, so we don't spend a lot of time together. And of course my dad, yes, and that's about it. I think that I inherited the finding gene. I'm not sure why.
Then we have Carrie M. Cardy. Carrie M. Cardy.
You should have proofread this before you read.
Yes. She says, what are your top dream places to visit in the U.S. for hounding? It can be gems, rocks, fossils, and why?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I kind of am ignorant about rocks of the world, but I will say that I have seen some really incredible crystal hunting that I would love to do. I've hunted very little in the way of crystals. I found some garnets, and then as I say, I just got back from looking for Montana diamonds, which are these wonderful black quartz crystals that are double terminated and perfectly formed if you find the right ones. And so that's really fun. I really enjoy that, and I think Jim would enjoy digging for crystals. We found crystals at Bear Canyon, and we had a really good time digging for those. So I hope that is a good enough answer.
And we have Nicola Gray. Are your gardens full of gorgeous rocks? Mine sure are.
Well, my yard is full of rocks. My garage is full of rocks. My driveway is full of rocks. My basement is full of rocks. My head is full of rocks. Yes, I have beautiful rocks in the yard, but it's something that is an ongoing process because I keep trying to sort and sift and figure out which ones I really want to keep inside so that I can cut them. And I have more rocks than I know what to do with, to be perfectly honest. But, I just can't stop myself. Every time I go out, I come back with another backpack full.
Kirk Tingblad. Do you work in some kind of profession that allows you to organize your time in such a way that you are able to make these videos? Keep rocking.
Yeah, that's a great question, Kirk. And actually, COVID has been responsible for me having so much time right now in order to do videos and go out hounding and things. Maybe one of the few good things about this stupid virus. I work at a tribal college, and we have been closed down since the beginning of September. We were not able to open because of an outbreak on the reservation. And so we just got word yesterday that the college's fall semester is no longer going to happen. And so we will be working 3 days a week starting in the middle of October, but that's still lots of time for editing and for filming, so lucky you.
Let's see, Travis, Santa Cruz. What are your thoughts on the metaphysical energies of stones?
I've given this some thought, Travis, because I was trying to figure out exactly how to respond to that. I don't have any real knowledge of the metaphysical energies of stones. I don't have any particular experience with the metaphysical energies of stones, but I will say that I think rocks have a way of finding people, and rocks have a way of giving people a good feeling inside.
Matt Law. We appreciate you, Kate, and you always make us smile. Congrats on the 3K milestone. Where did your theme music and catchphrase come from? Is there a story behind either one?
The theme music is from the wonderful YouTube music audio library. It's called Merry-Go-Round, and it's just a little clip from that. And I loved the music, but fun fact, and something that probably made me look at the music in the first place, is that when Jim and I got married in Spokane, Washington, what we did after we got married is to go ride on the carousel in our wedding garb, and he caught the brass ring. So it was just music that I liked. It was fun, it was catchy, it was happy, you know, kind of what I want the channel to be. And as far as the phrase, to be honest, I developed the name KatyDid because I do so many different things. I mean, rocks is what kind of we've decided to do right now, and it's something that I've had a lot of fun with, and I don't anticipate quitting. But I have a clay studio, and I have made jewelry, and I have done mosaics, and I have just lots of creative stuff. And so my initial idea for this channel was to have something where I could just, you know, what's she up to this week kind of thing. And eventually that's probably what I will also do, is something in addition to rock hunting. YouTube is kind of a strange animal, and if you don't have, you know, okay, that's this kind of channel, then it sometimes locks you out. But so I focused really hard on rock hounding, and I won't be stopping that, I promise. All of you rock hounds who are counting on the KatyDid videos, don't worry, it's not going away. I may start KatyDid clay or something like that. I haven't figured it out yet, but so the whole keep on doing idea comes from that KatyDid. You know, I did this and I did that, and so do you. The thing about keeping on doing is that a lot of times in our lives we just stop. You know, we stop doing, we stop experiencing, we stop enjoying, we stop seeing the incredible beauty that is in our world. And there's a lot of other things that are not so beautiful, but it's really easy to stop doing. And so it's something that I feel is really important for everybody, to just live their best life and to do the things that they can as long as they can. Not just going out and having good experiences, but having also doing good things for people, doing good things with people. It's something that I feel really strongly about. So keep on doing, that's where that came from. Thank you for asking the question.
Okay, here's one from Terrell Schumacher-Levy. Hey Kate, I'd love to hear of your background in geology. You sound schooled.
You know, I mentioned this a little bit earlier when I was talking about the research that I do. I have taken one geology class in my life, and it was my favorite science class. I thought it was so fascinating. So schooled I am not, but I do try to do research to figure out what I'm talking about. Sometimes I'm wrong. But if I am, then if somebody corrects me, then I'm grateful, because then I know the right answer. But, you know, there's all kinds of information out there. Everybody has a world of information at their fingertips. If you have access to the internet, there is no reason to be ignorant. Ask questions, be curious, keep on doing.
There's a question from Kitty, another question about how did you get interested in rock hounding. Kate's answered that.
Yeah, I have. Although I can tell you that one other reason that I started getting interested in it is because I was better at it than my brothers.
Rockin' with T asks, what was the first rock you found? Your very first fantastic find?
Oh.
The one that started it all.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember that, but I can tell you about the first big agate that I found, because I still have it, and I'll include a picture of it in this video. And that was at Howry Island, where I have taken you many times, and it was covered with silt, and it was just this big, huge limb cast agate. And when I found it, I felt like I'd won the lottery. That was maybe 20, let's see, how old are the kids? 23 years ago, 24 years ago? I remember clutching that thing to my chest and just having this big old grin on my face, and Jim was with us, and he just couldn't figure out why I was just so freaking excited. It was just hilarious, because I really did look like I'd just been given $1 million. And that was after a lot of trying to find big agates in the silt, so it was just kind of a really nice reward.
Penny Howard asks, at what age did you start rock hounding? But I think you covered that already.
Three?
Terrell Schumacher-Levy says, me again. And she has a very important question. How did you meet the drone pilot?
Well, don't tell my husband, but I met him, well, he lives with me. Oh, Terrell, you're so funny. All right.
Judy M. Congratulations on your subscribership. How long have you been rock hounding, and what got you started on this adventure? Again, I think you've covered that. Good question, though. Tina Stoddard says, do you have a favorite find that you would never get rid of, and why?
And I actually just covered that, because this limb cast that I found that was my first big agate is just exactly the way I found it. I cleaned it off, and it has just sat in my yard ever since. And I pick it up sometimes and pat it and hold it and remember how exciting it was to find. And I don't think I'll ever cut it, and I don't think I'll ever get rid of it.
Then we only have a couple more here. FK says, hi Katy. There are lots of good questions already been asked, but I have one still. What is the filming gear you use and can recommend for rock hounding? What are the pros and cons of them?
Well, I don't know if I have any pros and cons particularly. Jim would be better at, giving you information about that. But when I first started, I was just using my smartphone. And smartphones are pretty amazing. They have some really good quality footage. They do some pretty decent close-ups. I actually still use my smartphone for close-ups. And they're handy that way. My biggest problem with the smartphone is my hands were always dirty. And so every time I had to log on to the stupid smartphone, I couldn't use my thumbprint thing, and I had to wipe off my hands, and it's a real pain that way. And so I ended up buying a GoPro. And the GoPro is really awesome because it's rugged, for one thing, so it's kind of meant to be thrown around, which is good for me. And the other thing is that it's very flexible. It does lots of things in lots of different modes, and so I shoot most of my main footage now with my GoPro. And I do use my cell phone camera for what we call B-roll. Or if I forgot my GoPro and don't have a camera, I'll also use it. My newest addition to the shooting pantheon is this thing called the Osmo OM4, and I'm shooting on that right now with my cell phone. It's a gimbal. It's a battery-operated motorized gimbal, and I've been kind of fighting with it because it's not super intuitive. I have to learn how to use it, but I'm getting there. And this is going to be great for again, B-roll shots where I just want to show you, the area I'm in and so forth. And the other thing that I want to make sure to mention is my husband's drone, which we also bought just for this channel, right, Jim?
That's right. Nothing to do with me at all.
And that is a Mavic Air 2, DJI Mavic Air 2 drone. And he's been having so much fun with that, and it's also made it so that he has a reason to come out with me besides watching me wander around with my head down. So that's been really great.
Denise View asks, how did you learn to cut stone, and what kind of saw and blade do you use?
My dad taught me. he showed me how to use his saw, and that is the saw that I have. My dad built this saw from a kit in 1972, and it has an 18-inch diamond blade, and it just keeps going and going and going. So it doesn't have a brand, it's a kit saw. And the same thing with my trim saw is something that he kind of cobbled together. My parents didn't have a super lot of money when he was into rock hounding, so he just kind of made do and made things happen. So now I have it and I'm happy.
Last question is from Marcia S. How did you learn to edit your videos?
That's kind of an interesting question. Practice is the short answer. I have been using Macintosh computers since 1985, so I'm fairly comfortable with new software. And I worked as a graphic designer, so I know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator and all those things. And so when I started doing photo editing, I actually started with iMovie, which is included in the Macintosh Office suite. And my son quickly graduated to Final Cut Pro and could do all sorts of awesome things that I couldn't. And so I decided I would try that. And when I made the move, it was not a terribly easy thing to do, but it does offer me a lot more flexibility. And I'm still learning. I know I'm still very much a novice at video editing, but I'm working on it. And I'm trying to make the videos even more awesome for you to watch, because that's really why I do this. Partly because it makes me happy, but partly because it makes you happy. I have had such an amazing time getting to know the YouTube rock community and sharing my adventures with you. You're all such wonderful people, and I just appreciate you all. So, with that said, this is Kate from KatyDid.
And Mr. KatyDid.
Keep on doing.